Right, good morning, Redburn. My name's Simon Vegro, and I'm welcoming you all yet again to another Active in Redburn weekly call. As always, I'd like to thank everybody who's donated to keep the calls free of charge for our listeners over the last few months. And to remind you all, we will be continuing these calls till round about Christmas time-ish. We haven't actually sort of decided when we'll stop them, but I'm thinking it probably will be around Christmas time. And we're delighted also that the Parish Council has given us a small grant to mean that we can keep going till then as well. Now, as to the technology today, we've got some very, very, very high-tech people doing things behind the scenes. I hope I've pressed the right buttons today, but if everybody else has, then we should be able to get this live on Redburn's Facebook page, and afterwards, hopefully, it can be found as a recording there and on our website. As in previous weeks, everybody's now on mute other than the speakers, so you can make as much noise as you want to, so feel free to let the dogs bark and put the kettle on and all that sort of thing. And I really do hope you enjoy today's call. Now, our run of brilliant guests continues. By popular request, the superbly wonderful Redburn players return today, and we do hope to have them back every month. Then Will Gibbs will undoubtedly surprise us with joy, to misquote Wordsworth. And then I'm delighted to have Olive Hickmott on the call, who I think I have to describe as a polymath, because she does so many wonderful things, and it's very hard to sort of pin any one of them down. So polymath, I think, is the term for Olive today. I really hope you enjoy the call. So, without further ado, I'd like to first of all welcome David and the Redburn players. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How are you all today?
Very well.
Good.
And
looking... Go on, David.
Yeah, Simon, I wanted to, start by properly crediting my two fellow performers, because they very rarely get mentioned by name, and it's the very excellent and the very talented Mario and Hilary Violentano, who have been with us every inch of the way, long-standing members and been involved in all the pieces so far. So just to say, it's very much a team effort, and they've been a tremendous support.
Thanks, Dave. They certainly are, and it's a wonderful little team, as you say, you have there, isn't it? So we're delighted to have you on again. Now, I think you might have some exciting news for us in terms of your preparations for the end of the year. Can you update us on anything?
Yes, we do indeed. We have a fairly big announcement to make, and this is an exclusive reveal on your programme, Simon. As we believe we have found a play that we can perform in December. And this is Lockdown in Little Grimley by David Tristram. Now, this is the latest in the Little Grimley series. We previously performed two of the other plays, Last Tango in Little Grimley and Strictly Sex Factor on Ice. And this play again features the four intrepid members of the Little Grimley Amateur Dramatic Society, Gordon, Margaret, Joyce and Bernard, as they look to stage production in lockdown. Now, we are, and we will continue to face very, very stringent restrictions on rehearsing and performing, and the beauty of this play is that it's written and designed to be performed whilst maintaining a social distance, which is why we are quietly confident that we will be able to do it.
Oh, fantastic.
And not only that, so we can actually do it at a social distance. It's performed at a social distance, so that regardless of the restrictions, one would hope that we would be able to do it. And not only that, as the audience capacity in the village hall, we've been informed, will only be half what it is normally. In what will be a first for the players, we are aiming to perform the play twice a night over 3 evenings. So it's a one-act play, it only runs 50 minutes, so we're aiming to perform it twice over 3 evenings, using 2 different casts to give as many people an opportunity as possible. So it is all very exciting.
It is. Well, do you have dates for that yet, David, or am I jumping the gun a little bit?
Yeah, no. The dates we book well in advance. So it's the first week. It's always the first week in December. I don't know the exact date, but those are the dates that we book. So it will be the first Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in December.
Wonderful.
I haven't got a calendar in front of me, but that will be the date.
Oh, lovely. Well, that's great news, and keep us posted.
Yeah, we will be sort of putting more information on our Facebook page and in the common round. Obviously, there's a lot to sort out and a little way to go, but I'm confident that we that we can pull this off, and so we're going to be doing a casting in late September. Hopefully, start rehearsing in October, and then tickets will go on sale shortly after that.
Oh, lovely. Well, we're really looking forward to that. That'll be absolutely fabulous, and it'll be great to have you back in the flesh, as it were.
Well, absolutely. We're very keen to get back to what we normally do.
Yeah. Oh, good.
3rd, 4th and 5th of December.
Oh, thank you, Hilary. That's great. Thank you, Hilary. Okay, well, I guess we shall use today's performances as a bit of a teaser then for that and for the future things you do. So I understand you've got some wonderful things for us today, guys. So the floor is yours. Please go ahead and work your magic.
Okay, well, this morning we're presenting 2 short excerpts from 2 classic comedies, starting with the famous interview scene from Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest.
I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma. Pardon me, you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I, or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant, as the case may be. It is hardly a matter that she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I am making these inquiries, you, Gwendolen, will wait for me below in the carriage. Mamma. You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men. Although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name, should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married. I have always been of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
I have a country house with some land, of course, attached to it, about 1,500 acres, I believe. But I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only people who make anything out of it.
A country house? How many bedrooms? Well, that can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. Of course, I can get it back whenever I like, at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She is a lady considerably advanced in years.
Ah, nowadays that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. However, that could easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the size?
Both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
Well, I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us, or come in the evening at any rate. Now, to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce, or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I said I had lost my parents. It would be nearer the truth to say that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was where I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name Worthing, because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
Where did the charitable gentleman who had a first-class ticket for this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. I was in a handbag, a somewhat large black leather handbag with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
In what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial, Mr. Worthing. I confess I feel somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it has handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, the cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion, has probably indeed been used for that purpose before now, but it could hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
May I ask then what you would advise me to do? I need hardly say I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. It is in my dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Oh, don't tell me about the press, Humphrey. I know exactly who reads the papers. The Daily Mirror is read by people who think they run the country. The Guardian is read by people who think they ought to run the country. The Times is read by the people who actually do run the country. The Daily Mail is read by the wives of people who run the country. The Financial Times is read by people who own the country. The Morning Star is read by people who think the country ought to be run by another country. And the Daily Telegraph is read by people who think it is. But anyway, Humphrey, would you agree that so far my premiership has been a great success?
Oh, indeed, Prime Minister.
And I've been asking myself, what can I do to continue this run of success?
Have you considered masterly inactivity?
But the Prime Minister must be firm.
Indeed, but how about firm masterly inactivity?
No, I shall be firm. I have decided to cancel Trident, channel £15 billion into conventional forces and reintroduce conscription. At one stroke we can solve our defence, balance of payment, unemployment and educational problems all at once. What do you say, Humphrey?
But you can't just reorganise the entire defence of the realm just like that.
Ah, but I'm the Prime Minister.
Well, yes.
I have the power.
Well, yes, well, within the law and the Constitution and the constraints of administrative precedent, budgetary feasibility and cabinet government. So you intend to buy crews instead?
No, we'll buy no new nuclear weapons.
But Prime Minister, you're not a secret unilateralist, are you?
Oh, no, we still have Polaris.
Polaris is a ramshackle old system. The Soviets might easily develop a multi-layered missile defence system that could intercept Polaris.
Are you saying that this nuclear defence system could stop all 192 Polaris missiles?
Well, not all, no, but virtually all, around 97%.
But that would still leave around 5 bombs that would get through.
Precisely, a mere 5.
Enough to obliterate Moscow, Leningrad and Minsk?
Yes, but that's about all.
I would have thought that that would be enough to make the Russians stop and think.
It's not fair. I mean, with Trident we could obliterate the whole of Eastern Europe.
But I don't want to obliterate the whole of Eastern Europe.
But it's a deterrent.
It's a bluff. I probably wouldn't use it.
Yes, but they don't know that you probably wouldn't.
They probably do.
Yes, well, they probably know that you probably wouldn't, but they can't certainly know.
They probably certainly know that I probably wouldn't.
Yes, but even if they probably certainly know that you probably wouldn't, they don't certainly know that although you probably wouldn't, there's no probability that you certainly would.
What?
It all boils down to one simple issue. You are the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Don't you believe that Great Britain should have the best?
Oh yes, of course.
Well, very well. If you walked into a nuclear missile showroom, you would buy Trident. It's lovely, it's elegant, it's beautiful. It's quite simply the best. And Britain should have the best. In the world of the nuclear missile, it's the Savile Row suit, the Rolls-Royce Corniche, the Chateau Lafite 1945. It is a nuclear missile, Howard's would tell you. What more can I say?
Only that it costs £15 billion and we don't need it.
Well, you could say that about anything at Howard. But surely we should go into the matter more thoroughly, closer scrutiny, review all the implications. After all, we're discussing the defence of the realm.
You are trying to stop me, aren't you, Humphrey?
Indeed no, Prime Minister. But the Cabinet must have all the facts.
That's a novel idea.
The Americans won't like it if you cancel Trident and don't order another of their nuclear missiles.
How do you mean?
Well, your upcoming state visit, Prime Minister. When the Americans hear of your proposal, your meeting won't be with the President. Instead, you'll be entertained by the Vice President.
The Vice President? You cannot be serious. Even Botswana was greeted by the President.
That they hadn't just cancelled an order for Trident.
But this meeting with the President is vital.
Well then, can I suggest that you postpone the Trident discussion?
Well, in that case, on second thoughts, maybe we should leave Trident off the Cabinet agenda for the time being. That is my firm decision.
Yes, Prime Minister.
Wonderful. I particularly love the newspaper bit, actually. You know, in the beginning of the Yes Prime Minister bit. I think that's really, really, really funny.
Yes, it's a classic bit. Well, there's an extra little snippet about the sun that we left off for
reasons of decorum.
For reasons of decorum, indeed.
Yes, yes. But that's really great, guys. Thank you very much. And of course, it's whetting our appetite for the performances in December. So as always, thank you so much for that. We really enjoyed it. It was brilliant. You can now obviously relax and listen to the rest of the call if you like, or go and make a nice cup of tea. And you've obviously whetted our appetites to the real thing, and I do hope, by the way, we'll have you on at least a couple more times at the end of every month, possibly 3 more times before December, but we'll see how that all goes.
Okay,
So,
right, very happy.
Thank you very much. So, Will, you're out there patiently waiting today. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks, Simon. Yeah, very well.
Very, very good. And I'm sort of tempted to say follow that, really. I mean, it's always a difficult job, isn't it, when you get something that brilliant. But
I can't follow it, but I'll go next.
But if anybody can do it, you can, Will.
Oh,
now,
that's
of course,
kind.
last week we were lucky enough to hear your immense knowledge about Ethelred the Unready.
Yep. Well, we're doing a little bit of poetry and glass half full, glass half empty kind of stuff today.
Okay. Well, in that case, Will, I'll hand the floor over to you, and we're looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. So,
thank you.
Over to you.
Thanks. In an early poem called Triple Time, Philip Larkin presents the ways in which desire and memory can colour both the future and the past, and yet at the same time, if we're not careful, distract us from the present, a time unrecommended by event. Hopeful childhood sees the future as an air lambent with adult enterprise, and then looking back, we view a land of missed opportunities. He describes it as a valley cropped by fat, neglected chances that we insensately forbore to fleece. In that same collection of Larkin's work called The Less Deceived, published in 1955, there's another poem about hopes and time called Next Please. In it, the future is initially represented as a sparkling armada of promises, and yet by the end of the poem, that resplendent image has turned into another ship altogether. Only one ship is seeking us, a black, sailed unfamiliar, towing at her back, a huge and birdless silence in her wake, no waters breed or break. As someone wittily said, the only certainties in life are death and taxes, and some taxes, such as inheritance tax, of course, are paid posthumously. So what is there to look forward to in the difficult times we currently experience? And never mind how old or young we are, the diminishing time before us. Well, the answer is so much. And the feeling that there are fewer grains left in our sands timer lends a piquancy to every joy and pleasure available in the time left to us. Look thy last on all things lovely. And who was it that said that you should plant a garden and as if you're going to live forever, but enjoy it as if you're going to die tomorrow? I don't know if you ever do this, but I think it's a really good exercise to sit down every so often and write down a list of all the great joys and pleasures in life. If we ever find ourselves struggling, and let's face it, we all do from time to time, especially at the moment, well, we can revisit the list and be inspired by it, or even rewrite it with new things that matter and bring joy and value to our lives. What would be on your list? There's so much to look forward to, and yet each day, one day less in which to enjoy it. Many have been inspired by the great motto of the film Dead Poets Society, Carpe Diem, seize the day. According to the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, life can only be understood backwards, but it can only be lived forwards. In other words, we need the perspective and benefit of hindsight in order to comprehend the courses and patterns of our own lives. Kierkegaard was an interesting thinker, even though his cogitations took him towards Danish gloom, which we do well to avoid. Elsewhere he said, life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. As regards posterity, he asserted that the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. For my part, I think that's a rather tortuous way of regretting our inevitable mortality. I prefer to pass on a sense of life's inestimable blessings rather than pitying the self who will not be there to enjoy them. In addition to those features to which I shall look forward in the future simple tense, there's also that wonderfully named tense in the English language called the future perfect. You will have enjoyed. We shall have overcome. They will have benefited. It often suggests fulfillment and completion of a kind. Even, he will have failed, although he tried his hardest. You find that in the much-loved Beatitudes, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. There's a popular song from a long time ago now, but it's still well known and sung by more recent generations. It's the old classic, Que Sera Sera, sung by Doris Day in 1956, and it went to #1 in the charts, or the British hit parade as it would have been called then. The chorus went like this: whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. Predicting the future is a mug's game and tends to be a route to speculative errors. But a quick look at the present is not exactly reassuring either at the moment. Reading the newspapers, watching the news, and looking at international politics, it's hard to endorse T.S. Eliot's echoing of Julian of Norwich, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Nevertheless, I truly believe that hope and optimism are what keep us going, and they should. As Mel Brooks once famously said, hope for the best, expect the worst, life is a play, we're unrehearsed.
Well, extraordinary, as always. I think quite often when you do your thoughts for the week, we could run a sort of a 2-day workshop on each of them. There's so much material in there.
You wouldn't inflict me for 2 days on anyone, I hope.
Well, I'm sure everyone would love that. Now, one thing I would like to ask, Will, actually,
yeah, sure.
is the quote about on the garden, which I'd not heard before, about, what was it? You should plant a garden as if you're going to live forever and enjoy it as if you're going to die tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know who did say that?
I don't know, actually. It's just one of those things that I sort of in the back of my head somewhere. I'd love to know where that came from. It's a wise word as somebody who struggles with his garden and not very good and knowledgeable, but take pleasure from it. I find that quite a helpful thing. Yeah. The point about a garden is it's never complete. It's always work in progress, and I guess that's the same for our lives as well. You never get to a point where everything's absolutely in place and perfect, but that's okay. That's part of the human condition. That's the messiness of life, but also the joy and the unexpected side of things as well. And I think there's something about what theologians might call the sacrament of the present moment, something about enjoying what's in front of you, the person that is right in front of you at any given moment, and enjoying that and taking pleasure in that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm also going to make a note of the date and time, Will, that you didn't know something.
Oh, okay.
So 20, because it's so rare, because normally you're just full of immense knowledge. So 26th of August, around about 11:25.
I'll find out for next week, Simon. How about you set me some homework? That's all right. That's absolutely fine.
Right, there's your homework for next week, Will. Thank you very much for that.
All right, it's a great pleasure.
Great. Right, thank you again for your contribution, Will. And now I'm going to move on to Olive, who's been waiting patiently out there all this time. Hello, Olive.
Hello, good morning, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. And once again, I follow that, really. We've had two wonderful, themes to them. Performances isn't the right word, but two wonderful pieces of inspiration. But this is even going to be equally exciting, isn't it, Olive?
Well, I don't know about
that. Okay. So I described you as a polymath earlier. I hope you took that in the way I meant it, because you do an awful lot of things covering a variety of different areas. I'd like to begin, if I can, by just asking you what you think are the most important ingredients for living a healthy life.
I think it's an individual thing, and it depends on who you are as to what it is, but I'll try and do a generalisation. I think I'm going to pick up from Will saying it's always work in progress, because that's the way my life has always gone. And I think a few things. Firstly is to have something you really want to do every day. I absolutely love what I do, and I wouldn't be without it. I've tried to retire a few times, and that's not going very well, and so I carry on doing it. And so that's the first thing, something that excites you. I'm a lifelong learner. I continuously learn, and my brain is a bit like a multifaceted jigsaw puzzle, that I put all these bits and pieces together and make something out of them to pass on to other people, and supporting other people, definitely trying to communicate with them in a way that is what I would call the man in the street, so that people get the opportunity to learn about stuff. And that's what I've done with my work, and that's what we're doing with Active in Redburn as well.
So education is important for you, Olive. Would that be fair to say?
Education for me is really important. I've done lots of courses during lockdown. It's amazing what's available out there free during lockdown. And also, I'm really passionate about the world of education, and in particular why learning difficulties cause so much problem to our kids, things like dyslexia and ADHD. We know exactly how competent spellers and readers do it, because nowadays we have the pleasure of having neuroscience that tells us. But it's really difficult to get those messages across to the government. And of course, the government is so centralised that it controls what the schools use as a curriculum. But I've been for the last 20 years trying to improve this, and we have made fantastic progress with students. For example, I started my work 20 years ago in St Luke's School, and I just learned something about how some people found it so easy to spell and read, and I offered my services to St Luke's, and they said they've got dozens of people who've got problems with literacy, which ones would you like to work with? And those kids, and I always say thank you to them, although I haven't been in touch with them for probably 18 years, were absolutely vital in teaching me how quickly people could change with using a slightly different technique.
Now, you mentioned dyslexia there, Olive.
Yeah.
Why can I just ask you just one quick question about that? Why is something like that so little understood, do you think?
Because the government decided on how to teach literacy somewhere in the last 20 years, and it should be done completely